What's that?
The youth especially.
Yeah.
Because they say, oh, we'll go buy you some sneakers, we'll buy you this, and then they come and follow them.
Yep. And, you know, if your kid is out there hanging out with the guy around the corner, the kid around the corner who's being allowed to get involved in it, your kid's going to get pulled into it.
Yep. Even by guilty by association, you know.
Yeah. That was something actually me and Wade talked about. Back in 03, me and him had something very similar in common. We were both homeless and broke. I was just getting out of jail. He just had a rough life.
I heard about that through Joe. Wow.
Right, but he he had it bad from the start. 12 years old, he was on the street. Me, I grew up, both my parents worked for General Motors, middle-class neighborhood. Couldn't ask for anything. I had it all. Got into drugs, got into crime. By the time I got out in 03, most of my family had turned their back on me because I'd been such a problem.
Understandable.
So it wasn't economic. It was lazy, taking advantage of other people. Being lazy, not wanting to work for it.
You wanted to get the quick money.
Mm-hmm. It's easier to get the quick money. So, like I said, the two of us, that's where we come from. Very similar, but,
Me too.
you know,
I didn't have the
we ended up in the same place coming from completely opposite.
Yep. So it shows you it's more, right.
And now, we both own homes in Lockport. We both own businesses in Lockport. You know, we started here, came together, and stayed together.
Great story.
You're all set.
All right.
We're not going to test the mics because you're live. Now, anything we put on the mics, they'll hear it.
Okay.
But you're live on both YouTube and on the Yowowa Media channel.
Okay. Now, on the YouTube, how do people find that? Because my wife needs it.
I'm gonna go save it over to community accountability.
Okay.
That's all you have to do is go on that and. It only says that stream 2 is started. Oh, can you start stream 1?
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Community Accountability. I'm Hugh Carroll. I'm the host of this show. Tonight our special guest is Chris Fortin. Hang on, technical difficulty. We're learning. There we go.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Yes, special guest tonight. Special, all right. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to some good talk about things that need our attention here within the city, as well as in your area, Lockport, and get things going here in the right direction, certainly with your help and those in our community. So thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. A little background on what the show is going to be about. This is going to be a weekly show. Community accountability is my theory that before we can fix our city, we must first fix our neighborhoods. Before we can fix our neighborhood, we got to fix our blocks. And before we fix our block, we have to fix our own house. It's our responsibility to get out, prevent crime. The police responsibility is to react if there is a crime happening. I'd also like to start out by taking a special thank you tonight for Dustin Hardy, who is my technical producer. Dustin is 13, I believe. How old? 15. I'm sorry, Dustin. I really got that off. Dustin's, he's one of the volunteers here at Yowowa Studios, and I'm excited to be able to help the next generation learn how to run these systems. And our executive producer and studio manager is Peter Green.
He's the little guy over there.
Yeah.
We call him, sometimes we can't say that.
No.
We better not say that on the air. No, we love Peter and Ohio
Yes.
Barb and Yowowa Media. It's the place to be in Niagara Falls. We have green screen. We have studio opportunities here. We can interview people.
Yeah, and a big reason I came to this studio is, as Peter calls them, the yo-yos.
Yes, the little guys.
The little guys. He has a group of kids who come in on a regular basis and learn production. Instead of sitting at home behind their phone playing Fortnite, they're in here running my show. They're running everybody's shows out of these studios, and it's amazing work that they do.
It's incredible.
Although I did notice the other day in my production meeting, as soon as they were done working on production, they were on their phones playing Fortnite.
Oh, yeah. Well, good thing they're not playing Fortnite when they're supposed to be doing the camera and audio. Right?
Oh, yeah.
But they're good kids, and, yeah, Peter does a wonderful job with that. And, I mean, yes. Oh, yeah, it is Halloween.
Oh,
By the
yes.
way, happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you're...
I actually felt tonight was a great night to introduce this show, because tonight's the night that we are sending our children, dressed in ways that we cannot recognize them, up to strangers' doors to beg for freebies.
During a pandemic.
Yes. In order to do that, you got to have faith in your neighborhood, in your block. It's got to be safe. When I was a kid, it was anywhere in the city of Lockport where I live, we would go. When I get a little bit older, we would do the entire city because it was safe. Now, certain neighborhoods I won't let my daughter go to.
Or you would even go probably yourself nowadays.
No. Well, I'm a little different. But there is a few neighborhoods that I won't let my daughter go to. Now, in my neighborhood, it's different because my neighborhood's an example of how we are accountable to ourselves for our own safety. My daughter goes out. She can tell you the name of everybody that lives in each and every house for a 2-block radius. My daughter is 6.
Wow. And that's a good point that you bring up, because you've started that at home. You've taught your children how to interact with the neighbors, to know the neighbors on the first name basis, I'm sure. Probably knows some phone numbers in case something happens. And Dante brings this up on his show, that, you know, we need to bring the village back. And as cliche as that may sound, we do need that village mentality where your daughter or son could walk down the street and Mrs. Smith knows your daughter, or Mr. Jones. And you brought up a really good example of the neighborhood, how you keep an eye on your neighborhood, especially after dark. Can you give that example of the lights on it?
Oh, yeah. The general example, I actually made this example on John's show 6 weeks ago, which was if there is an issue, or if I'm outside, I am a smoker. I don't smoke in my house. If I'm on my front porch having a cigarette at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and the woman that lives 5 doors down on the other side of the street, 80-year-old woman, lives on her own, if I see lights on in her house, I'm going to walk down and just take a peek, make sure I'm not seeing other vehicles over there, extra bodies that shouldn't be in the building. I'm watching my neighborhood. Just a couple nights ago, she left out at 9:30 at night. I seen her car pull out while I was out having a cigarette.
You're like, but it's really weird. Something's going on. What?
I have never seen her after 9 o'clock. 9:30, she pulls out. I made sure my curtains were open, and I watched for her to come back. And when she did, I went down, and I said, Karen, is everything okay? For her to be leaving, I don't know if she's going to the hospital. I don't know if there's a family emergency. I don't know if she's getting hustled by somebody who wants her to bring them money at that hour of the night. I'm going to go check on her to make sure that none of those bad things are happening. And it turned out she needed milk.
She was having a late night snack craving or something.
Well, she realized she needed milk for something in the morning, and she didn't have it, so she ran out. But
that's
she thanked me as I came over.
Absolutely. Somebody, back when I grew up too, you could leave your house. Say you had to go, you were going on vacation or going away for a few days. You could say, hey, your next door neighbor, I'm going to be out for a few days. Grab my mail, take my trash cans out. Things like that are very key in controlling crime in the city, leaving motion lights on, for example.
Motion lights.
Making sure that if you are going to be away that, your newspaper isn't piling up on the front porch, things like that will definitely
other things
deter crime in the neighborhood. And you're the one, not a vigilante, but you're vigilant. You're vigilant in your neighborhood. You're aware of your surroundings every single moment you're in your neighborhood.
Well, now let's not get carried away as far as not a vigilante. If there's something serious happening, I am getting involved.
Certainly.
Other people don't have to get involved directly, but everyone on my block has my phone number. Everyone on my block knows if you have a problem, you call me. It's going to take the police 2 to 3 minutes at high speed to respond. I'm there in 20 seconds. So you call me, then you call 911. I see the phone number. I answer. They say, we have a problem. Click. I hang up. They call 911 while I'm running across the street in my bare feet in this cold weather because there's a problem.
And that's beautiful that you have created, and a lot of businesses do this, but you and your neighborhood, you took charge and you've created a call tree. So,
I'd love to take credit for it, but
that's what it is. I mean, whoever created it, but that's what you've created. That's very professional for you're starting at what we need to do in the neighborhood. Once we can control our neighborhood and each one of those streets, then it expands, then it becomes a block, then it becomes maybe this section of the city is better, and then it just continually improves based on those things. But I give you a shout out for doing that. I mean, that's a big step in your neighborhood.
I would absolutely love to take credit for it, but my neighborhood is a very, very old neighborhood. When I first bought my house 5 years ago, and this isn't a joke at all, I was the only one on my block not collecting Social Security. Everybody else was retired on that one particular block. It's known in Lockport as an old block. I bought my house from a man who bought the house in 1940. People don't move out of this neighborhood. They die out of it.
It's solid. Oh, that's a solid neighborhood, I can tell without even hearing the story.
But when I got there, there was the younger guys. The one is 67, the other 72. They're the younger guys. They were the new people in the neighborhood as far as everyone else was concerned.
Sure.
They'd been there about 25, 30 years. They considered it to be their job to watch.
Patrol
and
their own.
And I've actually had to go and talk to them and tell them, listen, your time's over. You handled it. Let me take the weight off of you now.
Wow.
And it's appreciated. And like I said, even little things. One neighbor was out gardening today. I went out on the porch. He seen me. He stopped what he was doing, came over to talk for a few minutes so I could tell him, Martin, please be watching the show. I need people to view.
Yep, and that's another thing that's really important, and I notice it in this area particularly. I have lived out west for a while, but out west there's walls everywhere. There's cement walls. There's no typical fences that you see here, so there's not even a so-called opportunity to meet your neighbors out there sometimes. But here, I know in Western New York, Buffalo, Niagara Falls, North Tonawanda, Lockport, wherever you're talking about, people are friendly. People are there for each other. We're known as the city of good neighbors in Buffalo, and how generous the people are in this area. So if you talk to your neighbor or you say, hey, there's something suspicious going on in that boarded up house down the street, let's keep an eye on that. And as a community, as your neighborhood, you come together and you've addressed that issue. You found the root cause and you're looking to fix it. And you're not just coming to a table with a complaint about this is happening there, that's the police's fault, it's this, it's that. You're taking charge in your own neighborhood and should be commended for that. But that's where it starts.
Exactly.
And that's your message.
Exactly. And I have no problem going around the corner to the next block and explaining to the people who live over there, hey, this is why we don't have any trouble up on our block, and teach them, spread the word, how to do it. Now, there's a lot of details, little things. Again, I live near a very large park. It's not uncommon to see a large group of teenagers right around sunset walking towards the park. They're up to no good because we were both there at one point ourselves.
Oh, yeah, they're probably riding dirt bikes and four-wheelers nowadays.
Well, we got a couple of those. That's a different issue for me. But when I see them walking down the street, if I'm out on the front porch, because I'm a front porch person, if I'm out there and I see them walking, I look and I don't get aggressive. I don't get confrontational, but I'll look and go, hey, guys, how we doing tonight? What I've just done was let them know I see you.
You're watching them.
Yes. If you do something, I've already seen you. I'll see you running back out of that park, and I'll be able to tell somebody which direction you just went.
It's going to make them second guess to whether or not they should go spray paint that wall or not.
It'll slow them down without being confrontational. And that's a major problem. People don't know how to communicate to their neighbors anymore. The Facebook generation. People are safe saying whatever they want on Facebook. So when they deal with somebody in person, it's aggressive because they can do it online.
Everybody's kind of edgy. It's almost like sometimes people are looking to be wronged, and we've talked about it downstairs about approach determines response.
Exactly.
And even those kids, even if they were good kids, they were going there to play kickball or frisbee or whatever.
I didn't offend them.
Right, you're kind of being friendly. They're going to maybe respect you more, and they're going to respect your house, and maybe when they're walking through your neighborhood, they're going to be like, oh, I know him. He's the guy that sits on his porch. Right. We better behave ourselves, or he's going to come out, or he's going to call the cops. So, I mean, but what better way than to be outside, a real live person sitting on your porch? What about block clubs or those? We used to have like signed safe places for kids to go to. How do you feel about those?
It's all great, but I don't think we need to have an organized structure to babysit our own neighborhood. It's our duty as citizens. The police don't bother in certain neighborhoods patrolling as much as they do in others. The reason for that, they know the neighborhood has it. My neighborhood's one. We got it covered. If somebody from the neighborhood calls the police, they get there really fast because they know we couldn't handle it.
It's a different level. Yeah.
Right.
And you have a relationship with the police.
I do to some extent. Now, the thing is, I do have a criminal history, and I live in a small city of Lockport, so the police do know me.
But you are one that has changed, and because a person makes a mistake one day of their life doesn't mean they made a bad mistake for the rest of their life, or they shouldn't get that second chance. And I like where you're going with this too, because you are opening up the dialogue. And as peacemakers, this is one thing that we bring to the streets, to the city of Niagara Falls, and wherever we may go, we got a Lockport chapter now in North
Yes.
Tonawanda, but is that we want to be there to create dialogue. We want to de-escalate a situation. We want to prevent a situation before it happens. And as you said, the police are so busy doing other things, and with the rash of shootings, robberies, burglaries, all those things, they're so busy reacting to these different types of crime in the cities, and they can't be proactive. They can't walk the beat, because people talk about that often. Well, we need more police, we need this, we need that. And you bring up the point of, well, how are we going to pay for it? But creating that dialogue, having police, having that interaction, and that's what we're trying to create, is that open dialogue, come to the table, and let's,
Sure.
it's not going to happen the first time, but at least we're on the same page as
Right.
law enforcement, and we need them, no doubt about it.
Sure. Now, here's a question I have for you, because a lot of people with Peacemakers, and that's a big reason I invited you in on the first one, Peacemakers goes direct to what I'm doing here. A lot of people, when they see Peacemakers, they believe that you're either anti-police, which I've seen during the protest in Niagara Falls, how Peacemakers kept that line and kept everybody in control, or they believe you're a guardian angel type group, vigilante type group out there patrolling the streets. Could you explain exactly what Peacemakers' tasks are,
Sure,
self-imposed?
Sure. Well, we are what I would say we are, of course, a faith-based organization, and we try to be the liaison between a situation within the community, between the community and the police. We are not police. We are not what they call snitches. We don't work for the police. We're a strictly volunteer group. We care about our community, and our main goal is the children, the future of our cities. And as you said before, one of the things about Yowowa Media was that Peter is taking the youth, taking his time. He's not getting paid for any of this either, and he's taking his time to work with the youth, to have them see that there's positivity and there's hope, and he's given them a skill. So as part of Peacemakers, we work with the youth. We make sure that they walk home from school safely, that no one's bullying them, that they're not being destructive to property. We also help people in need of food. We do food drives. We do last Christmas we cooked chicken and a meal for people that didn't have. I think there was over 300 people that came out right in front of Tops, and
Wow.
Terry's Fish and Chips or Fish and Fries. He's a local guy. He did all the cooking, and the food was donated. But anyways, yes. So we take care of the community. We take care of the children, and one of our mottos is responding to the needs of the community. So that may be different things, but we want better for our city. We want better for our kids and for the senior citizens, because they are the ones, the older generation that built these towns.
Exactly.
And they deserve that respect, and we need to carry that legacy and those traditions. And I think what it boils down to is we need to get back to the basics.
Exactly. Real quick, I'd like to get the phone number out tonight. We are able to take live calls for those who are listening. Phone number is 716-563-1710. Call anytime while we are live tonight, and we'll get you on the air, see what you have to say about what we're discussing here.
Awesome. And I'm just going to look in our social media
Sure.
real quick. My wife was on here earlier, Paula. She goes Paula Sinclair Fortin, but that's her. That's my wife. Back in the 70s, I grew up on South Street, 326 in Lockport. My sister and I went all over Lockport trick-or-treating. We knew our neighbors, and we knew our neighbors, and they knew us. They looked out for us. It's a different city now.
In that area, that's a fringe area. That's the type of area where these actions that I'm talking about can easily bring it back to what it was. Too many people are now on their back porch. They've got their curtains closed. Something happens, they don't want to get involved. They mind their own business.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid of being called a snitch.
And how do you get people out of that mentality? Because the consequences of them saying something, the retribution, is really what people. How do you convince?
I believe it's an unrealistic fear.
Okay.
for the most part, especially in smaller cities. And most of Niagara Falls, you get to some of the hotter areas, not so much. There's programs there that law enforcement and the courts have to help protect people. But when you call up to tell the police that you witnessed something, you don't have to give your name. You give them a lead and let them chase it. You protect yourself, of course.
How do you? What do you recommend for how can we make people more comfortable with coming forward with information? And even though it's kind of a psyche and it's not maybe not a real, it is a real thing, I guess, in some situations. But how would you suggest making people become more comfortable coming forward?
That's actually going to have to be bigger than the block by block theory for getting people to come forward. First, you want to prevent it. You want to be out there. You want to get from the back porch. You want to get to the front porch. When you're in your living room watching TV, have the curtain open so you can see what's happening. If there's weird lights out there, all of a sudden, get out there. If you're out front and you saw something happen across the street, you can just tell the officer, hey, listen, this is what I saw, but I want to keep my name out of it. There's a difference in my mind in being a rat or a snitch.
Absolutely.
And being
Absolutely.
a good neighbor. As far as I'm concerned, if you're out there and you're calling the police for every little thing, your neighbor's radio at 9:01 is a touch high, you're being a little snitch. Shut up. Go next door, knock on the door, and tell them, hey, man, can you turn it down?
Cave people, citizens
Right.
against virtually everything.
Exactly.
They don't want you to have a party. They don't want you to
Right.
do nothing. Yeah, we know them people.
If you're one of those people that when you see a group of kids walking down the street, not doing anything wrong, but you call 911 to say it's suspicious, you're being a little rat. Shut up.
Go do a puzzle.
Exactly. But at the same time, if you see something wrong in your neighborhood and you watched it happen, open your damn mouth. Protect
Absolutely.
your neighbors. Protect your house.
Just your presence outside, like you said, even if you're just sitting on the front porch and you're watching the neighborhood, it could be, and do it different times a day so people don't understand what you're doing. Because
Right.
they'll get up, oh, this guy's watching us, so now we can play a trick on this guy. But when you alter your routine, you make your house safer by parking in different places.
Yeah.
You lock your car doors to prevent those break-ins. If they're going to break in, they're going to break in. But why make
Exactly.
it easy for them?
Exactly. And when they break the window in my neighborhood, I'll hear glass break. My neighbors will hear glass break. And here's another thing about a good, solid, united neighborhood. If somebody broke into my truck in front of my house, my neighbor I know has cameras. And he will give me the footage for me to give to the police so he doesn't have to be involved. Protect him. Let me take care of what happened. And we're all good.
Absolutely.
And
cameras
again,
are a
there's-
good way to remain anonymous, right?
Exactly.
And that's a perfect example.
And with the Ring doorbell, there's
Community, right?
I think they're calling it neighborhood or community or something like that. An example, there was a running shootout in Lockport a week and a half ago. I saw video of that before the police arrived on the scene because it was all over YouTube because somebody was watching Community and they heard it on the scanner and they pulled it up and boom, it was up.
Wow.
It was all over Facebook instantly that this incident had happened. So,
And that's with the cameras too. I mean, nowadays these cameras are so good. I mean,
Exactly.
they can see stuff from space. They can see a dime from the International Space Station.
Exactly.
If someone's at your front door stealing a package or busting something, and cameras they're so cheap nowadays, pretty much.
unless, it's in a bank that's being robbed who seem to have the worst cameras in the world still. I can't figure that out.
You're looking through the lines,
Yeah.
trying to. I think I know who that guy is.
Yeah.
Or they give you some lame ass description. It was a tall man with purple and brown skin with a
Yeah.
hoodie and jogging pants. Oh, geez, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll catch him.
Yeah,
well,
and
no
the,
doubt.
And the photo they give us is a blob.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the big thing is confronting the issues on your block. And I'm sure that's where Peacemakers is good. And spreading this word even, just going block by block, talking to the good neighbors.
people know that we're out there. They recognize our colors. People call us bumblebees sometimes. We're yellow and black, people say we need to drive around on a bus, and I always say, "What? Well, a long bus or a short bus?" But our presence alone, people, and that's the thing. Now the community becomes familiar with us. They know the Dantes, the Ezras. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows Jill Shaw. Shout out to Jill Shaw. Long story, personal, but people recognize you, and people recognize that we are community members. We're not a policeman that lives somewhere else, or a fireman or a politician that lives behind a gated wall in another city. I live here. I live on Pierce Avenue. I drive by the drugs, the homeless, the shootings, the yellow tape, the this, the that. You'll hear about that tomorrow. I'm just giving you a little preview, but I went and talked to City Hall, and I let them know a little bit how I felt, and thanks to Peter, we got a little video of it, and I'm sure it'll be coming out. So tune in tomorrow to Sunday Fun Days. We'll drop that video about there, I guess, and while I'm on, I certainly my passion is there, and I care about the city, and I care about each and every one of you, whether you're from the north, south, east, or west side. And I will apologize to City Hall, to the council members, that there's a way I should have approached things, and my approach wasn't the correct way, and I know better. But I just, when you see a crime scene day after day, when you drive by to go get your coffee, and there's state police and parks police and the sirens, like I go to sleep, I hear gunshots and sirens, and enough was enough. And I will go on air here publicly. This wasn't planned, but I just want to apologize for my presentation, but I hope you got my message. And, I'm out here, and I'm putting my life at risk every day to make our community better. And that's all I want out of this. It's not about Chris Fortin. It's not about him. It's not about Peacemakers. It's bigger than us. It's about restoring community, having faith in one another, and working together, because otherwise our city's going to crumble as it is right now. And Lockport is in the same situation.
We're getting bad. I'll tell you, the same with me. I was on the fence if I wanted to do this show or not. It's been 6 weeks since I initially talked with Peter about it, and I told him I was thinking about it. I wasn't ready to do it until we had a random shooting at a party. And then a couple days later, we had a rolling shootout in the city of Lockport. You don't have these things out there. And the reason that's happening is there is no accountability. They know they can get away with doing this stuff because everybody's curtains are closed. Everybody's staying in their house. They're all going to mind their own business and let them go. And
it's like
I don't do that in my neighborhood. That's why we don't have that problem.
It's like
because they know not to come up there.
You're giving them a stage almost.
Exactly.
Oh, you got a caller.
We have a caller. Excellent. Okay, hello, caller. Oh, hang on, not answering it. It's a learning process, people. Hello, caller. Can you give me your name, please? First name.
Hi, my name is Paula.
Hey, Paula.
Hi, honey.
Hey,
this wasn't planned either.
My last name.
Okay, we don't even need it. It's already been given.
You gave me away. But anyway, I think this is great. I think what you're doing in your community, and I know where you live, and I think that's great. I think I just wish there was more people, and hopefully there will be, like you, that just take a stand on their block. And I know Chris, with our neighbors, he gets to know our neighbors, he gets to know the neighborhood kids, and I do as well. And we always try to think that at least like, we have a lot of like Chris was saying, a lot of crime and shootings and everything all around us, right? A few blocks down on our street and stuff. But we just try to like show the kids, like, listen, there's good, nice people out there still. And no matter what you're taught or what you're told about people and races or what have you, we want to show by example that we're nice to everybody, and we just try to be that example, especially for the kids. So, but I just think congratulations on your show. I think
thank you.
It's great, and and I'll stop talking. But I just
Actually,
want to call in and see.
when you posted you grew up over in the 300 block of South Street, I lived on Park Lane Circle. So I was right around the corner, right on the other side of the health club. So.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know.
Yeah, the little neighborhood next to the school.
We lived one house in from Franklin.
Yeah.
So we would go up Franklin to Walnut to Pound, and we went everywhere. We went everywhere, and
we used to run those blocks. Oh wow!
Yeah,
it was crazy.
I used to sell greeting cards and gift wrap. I used to go door to door when I was a kid.
Oh, for the school fundraisers.
You get points or something, yeah.
Yeah, I remember those days. The jewelry.
I mean, I would never send my kids if we had young kids now. I would never send them door to door to sell anything. No way.
Yeah, I'd be my daughter's a Girl Scout. She's 6 years old. She's just getting into Girl Scouts.
Hey, as you can tell, I never sold any of my stuff. I ate all my stuff.
Yeah,
if I got the cookies or the chocolate,
Girl Scout cookies.
I'll write some fake name down, and then you get all this chocolate at home. I don't know. I never did anything like that, by the way.
No, of course not.
Or remember the CD clubs? You could get 10 CDs for $1 or something.
That was, I think, every one of us. That was our introduction into crime. Those of us who went to criminal status.
Oh yeah, BMG Music, right?
Oh yeah, Columbia House.
Or book club.
Oh my God,
another one.
Oh wow.
But like I said, we grew up pretty much in the same neighborhood, and I remember I used to leave Park Lane Circle, cut through the school, down Reed Street, and I was right there by your house then, and we used to just run all over there, and we'd shoot across through Main Street all the way to North End. We'd take the North End shortcut, which we all know so well, across the train bridge.
Super Duper and Twin Fair at nighttime. Never thought anything really about it. I mean, I was.
But when you would do that, how many people?
We just weren't aware of it as much.
When you would do that, though, how many people would be out there that you would see? They'd be on their front porch. They'd be in their front windows with the curtains open. How many people do you think seen you going just around the block?
Oh, yeah, so many. And that's why you behaved, too, because you knew that Mrs. Smith down the road was going to have your tail. Everybody, it seemed like everyone's neighbors took care of everyone's children, and you knew that, that you had to behave. And, I wish all kids could grow up like we did, and unfortunately, it's not the same world anymore.
Well, if people start to care about their block and let it spread and share the word on how they're doing it and how their neighborhood is safer, we can get it back. Yeah. Now, we're not going to be able to start this up here in the Falls, in the, around the coastal and over by hometown. We're not going to be able to start there. That's where it's going to end, but it's not going to start there. It's taken us 50 years for these neighborhoods to fall apart. They're not going to be fixed overnight. No. It's going to probably take 20 years to push the crime. A lot of people, the youth, they'll slow down because of the pressure we're putting on them. The youth will slow down. The next generation may not be as bad as the one coming out right now, because of the pressure.
And the consistency with the pressure.
Exactly. But those who aren't going to, we're going to push them into a corner, which is where police can be preventative, because you can have 3 of them sitting on 2 corners. And then nothing's going to happen there either.
But then it just gets moved.
But if you pinch it into one neighborhood, we'll probably have to fill our jails, because people are not going to stop with crime,
especially now with
crime is not new. I'm a huge history buff. I study the Wild West. That is my biggest area that I love.
Oh wow!
Trust me, crime's not new.
I'm your huckleberry.
There it is. But it's.
We had a neighbor. I'm sorry.
Go right
we had
ahead.
a neighbor recently. We just had a Zoom meeting, Chris and I, and not as many as we were hoping, from our block from 24th Street up to Hyde Park, for Willow and Pierce. One of our neighbors passed out information, and he's trying to get together, just everyone to get to know each other and to be more aware, and not so much of a block club, but just more getting our neighbors to kind of unite and get to know each other and just to help. There's a lot of things, like we live, I would say, on Pierce. I'd say we're on the best block because it is a good block, and then the 2200 block isn't as bad. But
Paula, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Paula. The people that live in the house directly across the street from you, do you know everybody's names?
I know 2 of their names. Chris knows all their names, probably.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going
across
with
the
this,
street to the left, to the right.
Yeah. You got to start
Chris is
off
very
your
gregarious,
front porch.
So he knows everyone.
You start.
I know what
you
you're
start
saying.
with what's connected off your front porch, and once you become, you don't have to be best friends. I'm not talking about having a block party every weekend,
Oh, no.
but
I
at
want that.
least know the people. Have them know you. Let them know your habits, and they'll let you know theirs afterwards. You have to open up to them first. And again, it takes time. But once you get it going, it will spread. Yeah, once it starts happening, it will spread from directly next door to the house next to that, down to the corner on both ends, and around the corner. Up here in the Falls, you have alleys. You have an alley between every single street. Do you know the people that live in the alley or live on the other side of the alley from you?
No.
We actually do.
See?
Oh, on that other side, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
In the back alley.
Yeah.
Oh, we actually, Chris. His name's Chris, by the way, as well.
But you see where I'm going with this.
I was thinking the other alley across the street.
No.
But
No, but, back fence lines is another great way to spread
it's a great way to meet your neighbor.
That's how you meet your neighbors.
Yep.
You need to get out there, and you need to be
saying.
open.
There's no fences. There's just cement walls.
Right.
And my neighbors will say,
Arizona's the worst for that.
oh my God. I'm like, where are the trees? Where are the fences? When I first moved out there, Paula lived out there too.
Nope, just adobe walls.
Yeah.
Yep. But my neighbors, you're right. My neighbors will be like, oh, Chris, I haven't seen you in a while. Where have you been? I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm doing this, doing that. Because they're used to seeing me every day. Or I cut my neighbor's grass for her. She's elderly. I just do it. I'm out there cutting mine.
I mow half my neighborhood.
They're like our yards are connected. So I'm out. It takes me like 5 more minutes.
Exactly.
And she appreciates it. And it makes the neighborhood, and that also spreads. Not only when you go meet your neighbors, but if you maybe pick up some trash in front of your house, or you see, just be aware. Talk to your neighbors.
Exactly. And now, in the more
recognize their vehicles is another good one.
In the more occupied neighborhoods, it's really, really easy to have community accountability. It's easier to get out there, know everybody. In the neighborhoods, though, where you have more board ups than you have anything else, there's ways to deal with that, which I'll get into more detail in the future on. But the best way to deal with that is building inspection, and not just one call. You need to first have everyone on the neighborhood on the same page of these 3 houses are problems. Or absentee landlords who have 5 units in what was once a single-family house, and it's a crime, just rolling criminal enterprise through those apartments. That's where you need building inspection. People don't realize the city any city in New York State can take ownership of a house for excessive criminal activities.
This is a great topic because we do, not a plug for us, but we manage Airbnbs. I'm not sure. So this is, I'm glad you brought it up because we have houses, Airbnbs that next to them, I know there's someone living in there selling drugs out of it. Because there's a 2025 car parked there out front.
In that situation though, building inspection, not law enforcement.
There you go, man.
People don't realize the power the city has, but only when they have the information. You can't expect the police to show up and the building inspector to just randomly show up and know what they need to see.
They depend on us for their eyes.
We have to give them the information they need. And like I said, you got one of those houses where it's a flop house. You know, they've broke it down into 5 apartments on what was a single-family home 50 years ago.
Or they squat.
Or squatters.
Yeah.
Building inspection will come in. Squatters, building inspection will definitely come in. They will put boards up. They will put signs up. They will inform people that it is illegal to enter. They will contact the property owner and start threatening fines.
You know, I think I saw over on 19th and what's that, Elmwood. They line up the cars over there like it's a drive-through. But I have noticed the state, right, because it is, and I've noticed the I believe it was the Niagara Falls Parks Department that went over there and boarded. I think they boarded up the windows. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's so obvious. Is it because they just need more evidence to move in on them?
There's this thing called the Constitution.
Good.
They have the same rights that you have, the same rights I have. You cannot stop a person and detain them and search them because you have a suspicion. Stop and frisk has been termed illegal.
Absolutely, and against people of color too.
Yeah, it's the only way you could prevent through a law enforcement is something like a stop and frisk. But they have a right. There is no probable cause.
Because they're just standing outside by the road. That's not illegal.
Right.
This is anybody. I'm not calling any people out. Yeah. Those people.
If the officer sees a hand-to-hand transaction, he has probable cause. If he doesn't see that actual transaction, he can't do anything. He can stop and harass them a little, maybe run their IDs, but that's it.
It's just circumstantial stuff.
Right.
No proof, no hard proof.
Right. And then while he's just randomly stops a person and runs their ID and says suspicious person, and any public defender who's worth a half of his pay can get that thrown out.
Absolutely.
So the police have to watch that. They can't be involved in the stopping of that. Now, if you have that happening on your block, we had a similar problem happening on our neighborhood. We had a guy who was dealing in my neighborhood, and we had a bunch of neighbors who would randomly, when we seen the cars pull up, the 5-minute stops that were running in and running out.
Oh, yeah.
We walked out and took pictures of their license plates, or at least made it appear like we were taking pictures of their license plates. And it made them
uncomfortable. They're not coming back,
are they? They're not coming back. They know that they're being watched.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and, I mean, honestly, that's a ballsy move to do that.
So obvious, too.
Yeah, but, I mean, to go out and do something as simple as that, because there is no privacy of your license plate. People don't understand. If you're walking down the street, I can take an image of you and I can post it. I can post it for profit, an image of you, if it is taken in public. There is no right of privacy in public. I had a friend who ran a website that it used to be called Buffalo Barfly. I don't even know if it still runs. And he had people who would call him on a regular basis and complain because he's going into the bars up and down Chippewa. He's getting photos. He's putting it up on the website of what's happening in the bars. And he was getting people calling and complaining because why would you use my image? Well, there is no perceived privacy in a public place.
Oh, anyway.
And his attorney...
And that's why you have the right to film officers, too.
Exactly.
And I know in New York State specifically,
right.
It's
now, when
law,
filming officers, I have no problem with that.
Don't interfere.
Don't interfere.
Mm-hmm.
Interfering would be opening your mouth in the slightest bit. Whether they're doing right or wrong, if they're doing wrong, you've got the proof. Don't open your mouth. Take it to where you need.
Oh, nice. We got a caller.
Wow, we got a caller, and I recognize this number.
Be easy on him.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this would be my daughter, Elena, my 6-year-old daughter.
Oh, hi, Elena.
Elena, you're on the podcast with Daddy. How we doing tonight? I think Peter taped you the other day. What was that?
I just wanted to call.
Oh, you just wanted to call? Thank you for the call, honey.
Yeah, she had a question, too.
Oh, what's your...
Happy Halloween.
Okay. Okay, Lila, if you could tell me what her question was, she suddenly forgot. She's getting stage fright.
She just asked me if the man was still getting money from the brown house across the street.
Oh, yeah, we had. Okay.
You got little junior you.
Well, she saw what was happening. Okay, I'm going to hang up and expand on this.
Thanks
one
for
real
calling
quick.
in.
Thanks, honey. Thank you, Elena. Bye.
Bye. Happy Halloween. Did she dress up?
Oh, yeah. She was out trick-or-treating when I left the house today.
Cool. I'll take her Snickers bars.
Good luck. What she was talking about, the man taking money from the man across the street. I didn't realize she still even remembered it. It was 2 years ago. 82-year-old retired postal worker, lives across the street, a couple houses down. He had hired a known junkie to paint his house. He got hustled, and I had ran this guy out of 3 other houses before he could catch some of the other people in the neighborhood. I missed it on this one.
Oh.
And all of a sudden I look over there and he's painting the house. I'm going, oh, this ain't good. Well, he got the house 3/4 painted. Then he started showing up every night at 10 o'clock, knocking on the door, looking for money, and then coming back at midnight to take something out of the mailbox. Every single night for a month and a half without doing the rest of the work. So it was obvious what he was doing. He was hustling the old man.
Taking advantage of a senior citizen.
And
big problem.
I finally had enough of that. I tried going through proper channels. I informed an officer in the city of Lockport who's a friend of mine. Hey, listen, this old guy's getting hustled. You guys got to pressure it. Here's who's doing it. And they knew the guy well enough.
He was already on the radar, probably.
Oh, he was actually wanted at that point. But, it was just a misdemeanor bench warrant. So they picked him up one day, took him in. Next day he was back there. But it kept happening. And every time I seen him there, I made sure if I was sitting in my front window and around 10 o'clock, I'd start looking out the window. When I seen him ride up on the bicycle, it's time for a cigarette. At midnight.
Eyes and ears wide open.
At midnight, it's time for a cigarette. And when I go out there, I'm making noise on my porch. I'm moving things around. I'm shuffling stuff. He could hear me. Yeah, and that's what my neighborhood 99% of the time sounds like after 7 o'clock.
In that case, crickets is good.
Yes. But I'm out there watching. I finally just had enough of it. We had gotten senior services involved, similar to Child Protective Service.
Oh.
There is a department in the county that deals with senior abuse.
And that's great. We can start giving out maybe some numbers, too.
Yeah. The problem is they are extremely limited on what they can do.
Resources.
Well, not just resources. The woman showed up, and I had talked to the guy's son because he knew it was happening, but they couldn't prove it. The woman showed up. She talked with him. The old man said, nope, nothing's wrong here. I know exactly what's going on. He's a very proud man. He's not going to admit to being hustled. And without him saying, I'm being taken advantage of, they can't do nothing. And, one night it came to a head finally, and I was on the porch, and I looked across the street as he walked by. Yeah, I screamed out, Frank, you're done. And it got heated. There was some vulgarity. There may have been a threat or two tossed. I was being real cautious. I was staying right in my yard for it all. Let him come to me. As soon as he came in my yard,
trespassing, right?
I was ready to drop him.
Yeah.
I was so sick and tired of him. And I blew up at him. And one of my neighbors was actually afraid I was going to seriously injure him. And she had contacted police.
Yeah, enough's enough. It
Right.
was boiling.
Well, she was not so much concerned with me injuring him as me getting arrested for injuring him.
Right, because she cared
And
about you. And
she wanted to prevent that, so she called the police.
yeah, and that's where the dialogue is so
Right.
important.
The first 2 officers who showed up, I already had a relationship with. I build custom bikes. The one's a fan of my work. He will stop by when he sees me building a new motorcycle. If the shop door's open,
Sure.
he'll come back so he can get a sneak peek.
And nobody's going to mess with your house
Right.
either, because
Well,
now you have an officer in the neighborhood, and they
Yeah.
know that you know them, and that
Yeah.
helps with the neighborhood too,
It really
right?
does.
They used to drive through businesses, right, or stop for coffee or donuts, or no pun intended, but when the officers are driving through neighborhoods or they're stopping at businesses, or, you know, how do you feel about police on the streets? Some comes up a lot. Either on bike, on foot. Does it work? If
you have enough manpower, but in the city of Lockport, we have 4 patrol officers per shift. If you have somebody walking down my block, but he parked 5 blocks away, and 10 blocks away, there's a violent domestic that he needs to answer.
He ain't gonna make it.
He ain't gonna make it. If you have the manpower, it's great. Down in New Orleans, when I lived down there, we had mounted and walking police through the entire French Quarter.
And on horseback.
Oh, the mounted police. Those horses were beasts.
Bigger than Clydesdales.
They're about the size of a Clydesdale, but they're rideable.
Wow. And,
sure. And them horses are trained to walk sideways through a crowd.
Oh, I've seen them. I've seen it happen.
It's amazing what they can do. They can do complete crowd control. What would take 10 officers with one of them horses.
They're so agile, and their body.
They know how to work. The officers work them. They really work with them. But it works when you have the manpower like they do.
What about auxiliary police, volunteer groups of people that? And I know, does Lockport have one, or they used to have one?
Niagara County used to have an auxiliary, and it wound up disbanding because those who were with the auxiliary, I guess, wanted to be armed while in uniform. And the sheriffs said that's not a good idea.
And that's kind of taken away from what the law enforcement should be doing.
They shouldn't be armed. They're there to be basically security guards.
Right.
You know, they're there to observe and report and just be a presence.
And that's very similar. Right. That's what we as peacemakers do.
Exactly.
We're a presence.
Right. You are there to observe and report.
Yep.
Now there are...
not even report, I guess, just to observe, to come be in between people that are getting too heated.
Right. There are very few examples of where you can be hands-on, you know, as peacemakers, as auxiliary police, even as just a neighbor. Well, as a neighbor, I can be a little more hands-on because my neighbors saw him hit me first. You are a little more limited.
Sure.
Immediate, serious threat of injury to somebody else, you can be hands-on. Outside of that, you can't touch no one. It brings your organization into a possible lawsuit.
Absolutely.
And you don't want that for a volunteer organization.
No, not at all.
So,
well, I think we got a good start.
Yes.
And you have, great ideas and bringing a different perspective from outside the city, someone that's familiar with Niagara Falls.
Exactly.
You've lived in Niagara Falls.
I've lived in the Falls. I've lived in the lower 9th Ward of New Orleans. I've lived in the Speedway District of Indianapolis. These are not good areas. And I've seen how they fell apart, and I could see the people that have been in those neighborhoods for a long time and how they wanted to go back to what it was.
Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to feel safe? Who doesn't want to feel you can let your kids out and play again? You don't have to worry about someone coming by and snatching them or a stray bullet. Because as we know, in Niagara Falls, our homicide rate's up 300% year to year, year over year. It's out of control. Bullets don't have names on them, as you know.
And that leads me nicely into our Crime of the Week segment. And if you look in the background, you will see the Crime of the Week location. I have a strange feeling this is going to be a repeated thing. This afternoon, I didn't write it down in the time, but about 2 o'clock this afternoon, a house in the neighborhood of Walnut and 19th Street in Niagara Falls, one of our lovely, safe neighborhoods, we'll say, took 6 shots from somebody driving by. There were no injuries, thankfully.
And what time of day was this again?
I want to say about 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock this afternoon. 2 o'clock is when this happened. If you have any information, you can call Crime Stoppers. You can call the Niagara County Sheriffs. You can call the City of Niagara Falls non-emergency line. You can tell them you want to remain anonymous. If you know who took the risk of driving through a city neighborhood in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday on Halloween when all the kids are getting ready and fired 6 shots into a house. Now, we all know why. We all know what the reasoning behind the shooting over there is. But to take that risk and endanger the kids, you got me pissed. If somebody knows and doesn't want to give up me, and I will contact and keep their name out of it. We do not need these guys driving around shooting it up. These are 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old guys. They don't know. They don't care. All they want is retribution for what they feel was being wronged.
And they're going to take whatever they can for collateral damage.
They
don't care. And most of them aren't from here.
No.
A lot of people are coming from Buffalo, I hear, nowadays. They're coming from other areas because the drugs are coming in right from the border. We know that.
Right. Right. I heard the numbers this week from the marijuana charges at the border crossing were up 1,100%.
Yes.
Listeners want me to finish the story about the elderly neighbor. Okay. That evening, he came when I confronted Frank. The guy's name is Frank. It got very heated. The police did show up, and like I said, the first couple were friends of mine. Or acquaintances, not friends. They knew right away. When they pulled up, I looked at them and said, we have a problem with Frank. Frank was listening to Niagara County Firewire on his phone, so he knew when the cops were getting close, and he got out of there. They showed up, and I just looked at them and said, it's Frank. And they immediately understood what was going on. But these two officers, they took a standard stance. One was standing, as I was standing in my front yard. One was 12 o'clock straight ahead of me. One was 3 o'clock to my right. Just in about 6, 7 feet back. Standard police procedure. They're trained. They don't think about it. It's just how they do it. A third officer showed up because the call was, we have a neighbor problem, and I think he's going to kill him out there. So the third officer came out. That officer didn't know me. I was very agitated. I was wearing my leather jacket. It was a little chillier, and I am a biker, and I look like a biker.
So you're going to get a different response.
Right. Mm-hmm. That third officer showing up, he's seen the first two standing in a defensive position. One, his arms were a little tired. He was resting his hand, and where's an officer going to rest his hand just to relax? On his hips, where his gun is. So the third officer jumps out of his car, literally barely got it in park, gets out, comes around the front of the car quickly, coming at me. I look, I see him coming, I go, hello, officer, to try and defuse it right away, because I had a feeling he was just going to come tackle me. Because think about what the call was.
He was all amped up.
Exactly, and what it looked like when he got there, not knowing the background. At that point, one of the other two officers who was already there turned and looked and said, we have a problem with Frank, and said his last name. That officer then stopped, cold, looked at me, relaxed, looked at the other two officers and said, great. Do you want to go F with him right now? And they left. They left to go find him to screw with him. They actually, a couple days later, one of the officers caught him and told him, do not go on those couple of blocks on that street anymore. And Frank got he got belligerent towards the cop. He said, well, I can go wherever I want. And the officer said, yes, you can. But if you go up there, you're going to cause me extra paperwork because they're going to freaking kill you up there. They do not want you around there anymore. You've taken advantage of the old guy long enough. It's over. You don't go there. We haven't seen him since.
Good.
Unfortunately, the old man found out what I was doing and that I was running this guy off, and now he's all sorts of pissed at me. I hurt his pride. But I'd rather have him pissed at me than have him get taken advantage of.
Wow. And if that doesn't put an exclamation point on it, folks.
Exactly.
And I heard a couple slogans. This was through Peacemakers and Pastor Giles, and he said a couple chants they had was put down the 9, use your mind, or put down the Glock, clean up your block. And that's powerful.
Yes.
That's very powerful. So think about that. Think about your future. Think about your neighborhood, your kids, and just be vigilant. Be aware of what's going on. I think that's one of the big messages that he wanted to put out tonight.
Exactly.
Keep your eyes and ears open in your own. This is your neighborhood.
Right.
You have every right in the world to protect it and to protect those within your community.
Now, it also actually starts at your own house. If you have a teenage kid who's running with those kids around the corner that you know are going nowhere, going nowhere, you have a responsibility as a parent to stop it through any means necessary. So, okay, well, we're already running long here, and I got a couple of business things I got to wrap up real quick.
Okay, beautiful.
Again, this is going to be a constant show. I'm going to do this as of right now, every Saturday night from 7 to 8, unless something changes. In the future, other shows we're going to have, I'm going to attempt to get a current or former law enforcement officer in here as a guest one night to discuss what they think and where they believe their role and our role as citizens meet and overlap. We're going to get into some heavier things, such as how to stop repeat criminals by changing certain laws. I'm going to attempt to get, and if anyone listening knows an assistant DA, a prosecutor, someone, I would love to get one of them in here because we need to discuss the programs on how to protect witnesses so people know they can be safe.
And does that go for people that may sexually abuse others, like some predator in the city of Niagara Falls? Could you help with people that act that way towards other people, or shame?
For those people,
witness shaming, is that what they call it? Can you help with that, sir?
For that stuff, there's actually a motorcycle club out there that people may or may not realize. They're called BACA, B-A-C-A. BACA Motorcycle Club. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them online, on the internet. BACA stands for Bikers Against Child Abuse. They escort children to and from the court cases. They show them that they're protected. They do more than law enforcement can do to help. This group is an amazing group to help children who've been sexually or physically abused in any way and have a bad home life. BACA is there.
You're an amazing man, and I'm thankful again to have this opportunity to be on here, and I am
so thankful for Pete and Dustin here for doing this for me. It's excellent. And one other thing, the studio time. Pete has built a beautiful studio here. Our executive producer, Peter Green, he's built a beautiful studio. He's made it available. He doesn't have anything to do with content. He doesn't bother us with our content. He lets our shows run the way we want to run them.
And everyone's voice is welcome. There's no censorship here.
Exactly. But this costs money.
Yep, absolutely.
In order to continue this, we need advertisers. If you know an advertiser, if you have a business, if you know of a business, contact me through the Facebook of Community Accountability with Hugh Carroll, or the call-in line is a phone call. Leave a message, and I'll get back to you. If you have an advertiser, if you want to help a charity, even if somebody wants to advertise for, say, Peacemakers, and they want to buy that time from me and have me do a live spot for them, I am welcome to do that. And you can help out a group, any charitable groups. Basically, what I'm saying is I need money. We need to pay for this show.
Yeah.
I want to make this show go. I want to make it go longer.
Hey, if we have to go out in the middle of the street with boots, that's a fire company, right? We'll collect change.
I won't do that. That's their thing. I'm not stepping on feet.
I'm just playing. But anyways, thank you everyone for tuning in. We always appreciate anyone sharing, tuning in, YouTube, social media. I want to thank you again for having me, and I'm glad that you're on my team, on my side, and I will make the commitment on air to. We are sister cities. We are brothers. We are, we're Western New York. So any way I can help you in Lockport, you can help us here in the Falls. Peacemakers can get involved. And those of you that got money, show us the money. Make it rain up in here. But thank you, everyone.
Advertising's not expensive, and the internet is forever.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Watch out for your neighborhood. Good night.